You're not procrastinating because you're lazy. In fact, most people who procrastinate are not lazy at all. They care deeply about what they need to do. They think about the task constantly, feel guilty for not doing it, and keep promising themselves that tomorrow will be different. But when tomorrow comes, they somehow still avoid it. The strange thing about procrastination is that you can spend 3 hours avoiding a task that would only take 30 minutes. You might clean your room, check your phone, watch random videos, reorganize your desk, make coffee, or do anything except the thing you know you need to do. By the end of the day, you feel exhausted. Not because you worked hard, but because you spent the whole day fighting yourself. The truth is that procrastination is not really a time management problem. It is an emotion management problem. Most people think they procrastinate because they lack discipline, motivation, or focus. But if procrastination were simply laziness, procrastinators would feel relaxed. Instead, they often feel anxious, stressed, guilty, and disappointed in themselves. What you are really avoiding is not always the task itself. You are avoiding the uncomfortable feeling that comes with the task. Maybe the task makes you feel overwhelmed. Maybe it makes you feel confused, behind, judged, or afraid of failing. Maybe it reminds you of the gap between where you are now and where you want to be. Your brain does not like that discomfort, so it looks for relief. That relief usually comes in the form of distraction. You scroll through your phone, watch videos, eat snacks, clean something, reply to messages, or work on easier tasks that feel productive but are not actually important. For a moment, the discomfort disappears. You feel better temporarily. But the problem is that the task is still there, and now it feels even heavier than before. This is how procrastination becomes a loop. First, the task creates discomfort, then, avoiding the task creates relief. Your brain notices that relief and remembers it. The next time you feel that same discomfort, your brain encourages you to avoid the task again. Not because it wants you to fail, but because it is trying to protect you from emotional pain. The problem is that this protection only works in the short term. Avoiding the task makes you feel better now, but worse later. The deadline gets closer. The pressure increases. Your confidence drops. Eventually, the task becomes more than just a task. It starts to feel like proof that you are lazy, undisciplined, or incapable. But that is not true. Procrastination is not proof that something is wrong with you. It is a coping strategy that has stopped working. Sometimes procrastination goes even deeper. You're not just avoiding work, you're avoiding what the work might reveal about you. For example, if you want to start a YouTube channel, build a business, study for an exam, or get in shape, the idea may feel exciting at first. But when it is time to actually begin, fear appears. If you start and fail, you have to face that failure. If you try and your work is bad, you have to see your current level. If you put in effort and it does not work, you may wonder what that says about you. So your brain finds a clever escape. It tells you not to start yet. If you never start, you never have to find out whether you might fail. You can keep imagining that one day, when everything is perfect, you will finally begin and be amazing. But that fantasy can become a trap. Waiting to feel ready often becomes another form of procrastination. Many people say things like, I need to research more, I need the perfect plan, I need better equipment, or I'll start when I feel motivated. But life rarely becomes perfect, and motivation usually does not arrive before action. More often, motivation comes after you begin. You do not become ready by waiting. You become ready by taking action. Another reason people procrastinate is that their goals are too vague. Your brain does not like vague tasks. Goals like, get my life together, be more productive, start working out, make content, or study more, sound meaningful, but they are too unclear to act on. They feel big and cloudy, so your brain does not know where to begin. When your brain does not know where to begin, it chooses something easier and more obvious. That is why answering a random text message can feel easier than starting an important project. The text message is clear. The project is foggy. So instead of telling yourself to try harder, you need to make the task smaller and clearer. Instead of saying, I need to write the whole script, say, I need to write the first bad sentence. Instead of saying, I need to get in shape, say, I need to put on my shoes and walk for 5 minutes. Instead of saying, I need to clean my entire room, say, I need to pick up 5 things. Your brain can resist a huge, life-changing task, but it has a much harder time resisting a tiny, obvious action. The real solution to procrastination is not motivation. Motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. You do not need a system that only works when you feel inspired. You need a system that works when you feel tired, anxious, bored, or uncertain. Instead of asking, how do I motivate myself to do this? Ask, how can I make this easier to start? Starting is usually the hardest part. Once you begin, the task often becomes less scary. The fear is strongest before you face it. That is why a small starting ritual can be powerful. Open the document, write 1 sentence. Put your phone in another room. Set a timer for 5 minutes. Read 1 page. Record 1 imperfect take. The goal is not to finish everything immediately. The goal is to break the avoidance loop. One useful method is the 5-minute rule. Tell yourself, I only have to do this for 5 minutes, not 1 hour. Not until it is perfect. Not until the whole task is finished. Just 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, you are allowed to stop. This lowers the pressure because your brain is no longer facing a giant task. It is only facing 5 minutes. Most of the time, once you start, you will continue. But even if you stop after 5 minutes, you still win because you practiced starting. Starting is the skill procrastinators need most. Not forcing themselves to suffer for hours. Not waiting for perfect motivation. But learning how to begin again and again until action feels less scary than avoidance. Another important part of overcoming procrastination is to stop connecting every task to your self-worth. A bad first video does not mean you are not creative. A difficult workout does not mean you are weak. A messy first draft does not mean you are bad at writing. An awkward beginning does not mean you are not meant to succeed. It simply means you are at the beginning. Every successful person had to survive being bad at something before they became good. The beginner stage is not something to be ashamed of. It is the entry fee. You do not become confident by waiting until you are perfect. You become confident by taking action, making mistakes, learning from them, and improving over time. So the next time you procrastinate, do not immediately ask, why am I so lazy? Instead ask, what feeling am I trying to avoid? Are you avoiding boredom, failure, confusion, judgment, pressure, or disappointment? Once you understand the feeling behind your procrastination, you can respond differently. Procrastination is a signal. It may be telling you that the task feels too big, too vague, too emotional, or too connected to your identity. The answer is not to attack yourself. The answer is to shrink the task, make it clearer, and take 1 small step before you feel ready. The people who move forward in life are not always the most motivated. They are the ones who have learned how to act while feeling uncomfortable. That is the real skill. Not never procrastinating, but noticing the urge to avoid and choosing 1 small action anyway. Because starting is not something you do after you become ready. Starting is how you become ready.